All right. Hello, everybody. Let's hope everything is working correctly. I'm having just a couple issues with stuff. I'm terribly sorry about being late tonight. I had some stuff come up that I was not expecting to have happen. So, got a few technical difficulties, but we should be good. Hold on, let's get this over here-ish where it's supposed to be. Alright, hi. Loki, what's up? I'm here, bestie. We're besties and yet we don't hang out. My heart. Come on. I think my audio should be working. Okay, I think we should be good. Oh god. Hopefully that's not too loud. That looks like it's kind of loud. My god. Good news is both PCs aren't destroyed. Awesome. So, yeah, Fen and I were actually hanging out, and then she needed to dip because, her dog decided bye-bye entire apartment. She was like, oh no. So, needed to get her back home and whatnot to handle that. So that's why we were a little bit late. Terribly sorry, we're an hour late. We're pretty much starting at our normal time. And, fun? Didn't mean to be late, but it happens. Now I'm a little off-centered, so hold on. Now, does this make me more, or... I don't know if this makes me more centered or more off-center. Oh man, that's so much better. We'll just go with that. You're sorry? No, don't be sorry. Fuck that. It's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, shit happens. Like, no one's upset with you over it. Besides, it's my stream. If I want to be late to it, I'm allowed to be late. Okay, like... Keter is now here. Hello, buddy. How's it going?
Hello. I'm having a night. It's a night. Nighttime, right?
It should be. I think it's dark out. And it's not winter,
Ah.
so I'm upset with me. Don't be upset. Come on, Finn. Why have you been having a night, though, Ketter? What's up?
Oh, I just been fucking vibing this evening. And by that I mean I'm vibrating at, you know what? I'm gonna end my sentence there and just not elaborate.
I'm just vibrating, man. That Xbox controller does wonders for me. I know what you're saying. No, I'm kidding. But you doing okay?
Yeah, all things considered.
That's all right. Do you need to talk after stream? We gonna watch some stupid videos together?
Maybe, assuming that I'm not absolutely exhausted by then.
That is fair. That is fair. Man, I wanted to lurk in the shadows of your stream with the occasional giggle. Yeah, she'd probably be sitting like right over there, just off stream, and probably drawing or something. I don't know. There's not much light down here right now, but she did give me a really good idea. So my brother, I helped him with some scrapping the other day, and he was gonna scrap this, like, it looks like it's a candle holder or something. I was saying, get like a big like resin or glass orb and put it on top, and it'd look really cool in the background when I set up the shelf. Fen said what would be an even cooler idea is to grab one of those like glow orb things that like you can get. They're like planets. They have just normal ball. They have like a bunch of like weird shit, right? And it could be like a bunch of different like LED colors and stuff. She's like, when I have that, I was like, that'd be dope for the background. Then I can move that to like over here, and then I have like a different glow coming across this wall. So that might be it. Also, if you guys haven't noticed, I sort of fixed the camera. It's still a little off, but like I think it looks okay. Doing it next week? I don't know. Oh, you're coming over next weekend? Okay. I mean, you're welcome to come over tomorrow too if you want. But yeah, tonight's stream we're supposed to be talking about SCPs, and that is why I got the professional here. His name is quite literally Ketter. All right, so just made sense to me that I was like, I got to get this man on this, and I haven't like really chatted with him in the past little bit. The fact that I can't hear any music is a little upsetting. Hold on. There, I've turned it up quite a bit. I need to turn off. It should be okay. It should be okay. All right, let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet, or if, you know, Ketter or my levels are like a little whack. I do need you guys to let me know when my audio's fucked. Obviously, I'm not sitting at my computer right now, so I can't really, you know, check things the same way as I did before. So yeah, you aren't streaming tomorrow? Oh, okay, you just want to be in the background. I get you. That's fair. It's just my heart. Yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about SCPs, because the other day when we were playing Minecraft, people were talking about SCPs, and we started to get into it a little bit. And I figured, you know what, if we want to talk about SCPs, should do that on our day that used to normally be like our creepy, spooky practices, religious, aliens, cryptids, all kind of shit type stream. I was like, SCPs kind of fits with that, you know? So, want to be a nuisance? I'll be a nuisance to your heart if you want me to. Oh god. Oh my god. Ketter, are you seeing this? Oh, you know what I just realized? I have to fix something. I was so on top of things, and now I have to fix something. Okay, I think I got it all set up. Sorry, I was in a bit of a scramble. I was like, I gotta start up stream real quick. My god. So I didn't have my bot running, so I just made sure that was running. But yeah, low-key, welcome to our creepy stream where you see like my stupid face in real life, or I guess on the computer, but my real life face. And then yeah. So Ketter, is there any particular SCP that you think that we should talk about first, or do you just want to shoot the shit for a little bit before we actually talk about them?
I mean, I'm good with. I have recommendations for good jumping off points, but if you just want to talk shit for a little while, I'm good with that too.
Well, our chat doesn't seem to be too active quite yet. Okay, so that means that not everyone has gotten the notification because streaming services and whatnot. I really do got to set up a role in the Discord that people get like pinged whenever I go live, because I feel like that would help a lot. But I just haven't done that yet. I should do that after stream tonight. You know what? I'm gonna do that after stream tonight. At some point. I'll be up till like 8 o'clock in the morning, so I should be able to get that sorted. Well, any creepy encounters, like IRL creepy encounters since the last time we hung out? Ketter? I think he might have died, guys. He might have disappeared. I don't know what just happened.
I'm alive, I swear.
He's
Sorry.
alive. Okay, okay.
Yeah, no, I really haven't had much interesting happen to me. You know, I got so tired the other night that I was hallucinating, but that was, you know, that's just normal.
Yeah, that's always fun. I actually had a very interesting hallucination the other day. So it was almost about, it was either earlier this week or last week. I talked about it on stream already, but I don't mind talking about it again. So when I hallucinate, it's usually auditory or visual. I've never had a physical hallucination where like you're like, oh god, my skin's falling off or anything like that. Like when you trip on shrooms or some shit, right? Or acid or whatever. I felt something in my arm. So I'm outside. I'm in the garage. And having a smoke. And I've got my phone in my other hand watching TikTok. And I was sitting here and I'm just looking at TikTok. And then I felt something crawling in my arm. So I was like, oh, there must be a bug in my arm, right? So I turn and I look, and there's like a raised bump, like moving on my arm, like a little bump moving around. I was like, huh.
Something about that don't
So
seem
it's,
quite right.
I was like, so I can feel it and I can see it. So like, to me, that means that it would be real, right? But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a second opinion on this, right? Just before I grab my knife and stab myself in the arm to dig out something that might not be there. So I take the smoke, I put it onto the ashtray. I leave my phone down on the chair or whatever. I get up and I walk inside and I go, hey mom, question. She's like, yeah. I'm like, I feel like there's a bug crawling under my skin and I can see it. Do you see anything? Right? She looks at my arm. She goes, no, I don't see anything. I'm like, because I can see the muscle here. I can see the muscle there. And I can see the vein. Right? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, you don't see that thing moving around my arm. She's like, there's nothing there, sweetie. And I'm like, 100% you don't see something right now. She's like, sweetie, there is literally nothing crawling under your skin on your arm. I was like, well, that's good, because I would have just grabbed my knife and cut it out. And she was like, I was like, hey, at least I asked if it was actually there or not first. And she goes, you need to stop taking whatever drugs you're on. I'm like, I just see things. But this one I can feel. So I was like, it felt like there was like a beetle or something under my skin. But there wasn't. And it went away after a few hours. And I was like, okay, cool, we're good. So that was like the only hallucination I've had that was of note recently. That's not like, oh, that's just not real. I'm just going to ignore that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you know, the last thing you need is some anomalous beetles under your skin. It's fine.
Yeah, man, I felt like I was straight out of like I was Neo in the Matrix when but I didn't go on my navel. It was just under my arm, and I was like, what is happening? You know, like I was like, I don't need a robot under my arm or some shit or magic beetles of doom. You know, so I was like, yeah, we're good. But how will it be? Would it be? Also, guys, let me know if the music is too loud. I just got this one. I haven't balanced it or anything. I haven't set up anything. I just figured it'd be decent background music for a spooky stream. So I don't know if it's too loud or not for you guys. It looks to be roughly the spot that the other one usually is, but I'm just trying to make sure. But yeah, if you have some good jumping points or starting spots, Ketter, like what SCP do you think we should start with?
I mean, we can start with what I like to call the classic range, which is, you know, shit everybody's heard of.
So like
096,
yeah,
096, 049. Shit, I forget the lizard there whose number I always forget.
3 something?
I think it's like, hang on.
It's the unkillable lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking I could bring it up on my phone or I could bring it up on my computer and I'll just like step in front of my microphone ever so often to look at things. But if we need to, we can look up stuff and then discuss certain ones. So if that is something you'd like to do, but I mean, you're pretty much like a walking encyclopedia yourself when it comes to SCPs. So
to an extent. I mean, there's I'm not perfect.
Well, I don't think
claim to
anyone
be.
is. Yeah.
But
I think you're
I mean,
perfect, Ketter.
Well, thank you. That makes me feel wonderful.
I'm glad I can help. All right. Well, I remember the character that had been brought up that came up in my chat the other night. was 𝐂96. They wanted to talk about the Shy Guy, right?
Mhm.
So the Shy Guy is, what is the best way to describe it? He is this essentially super strong paranormal entity that if you see any mark of its face, right, you can see the back of it, you can see its arm or something, but if you see its face, it will kill you, right? And it will find you no matter where you are on the planet, whether you're in the sky, under the ocean, whatever, and it will find you and it will kill you, right? And it just leaves a bloody wake, and the more people that see it, it will kill, right? So, and it doesn't need to be seeing it in person. You can see like a pixel of its face. And I remember,
I believe the smallest thing that ever caused a reaction was 4 pixels in total of its face.
Yeah, from a camera or something, and that caused a reaction. There was also the SCP Foundation decided that they wanted to create a form of goggles that when it recognized the face of the thing, it made it so that it blurred it out. But for like a millisecond, the people still saw its face. They didn't even have the conscious understanding that they'd seen it, but they'd seen it. And they made the goggles like ineffective or something like that, and they still killed them, correct?
Yeah, basically what was happening was literally in the time that it took the programming to recognize that it was the thing's face, that light, that enough light, photons worth of its face had come through to the person's retina to cause the reaction, basically. And I mean, it was literally fractions of a second long.
Yeah, like they didn't even consciously understand what they'd seen. They just assumed that right away it was blurred, right?
Yeah, it was literally so fast that they didn't even know.
Yeah. So, very interesting SCP, but it's a very well-known one. That's why like its design is loosely based off of, or I guess not really loosely, very well like based off of like the Rake, which is like a modern interpretation of, say, like skinwalkers and such. So, or the crawler or the creeper, right? Oh my god, I'm getting hiccups.
It's honestly, it's debatable which one even came first.
Yeah, like the Rake came out. I remember that being like a YouTube video that I watched like in early high school. Like, it was actually a really good video. If you guys want to look up something that'll freak you the fuck out, there's a YouTube video called The Rake, and I think it came out probably around 2010. Some maybe give or take a couple years. It's like a found footage kind of thing, and these guys are being stalked by something in the woods. And on your second time watching it, you know what the Rake looks like in that video, and you start noticing it in the background, and it's really fucking creepy. It's one of the few things that kind of gave me like a almost like a primal urge of like being afraid, which is surprisingly well done for a YouTube video, because it's not like it was like production level quality or anything. It was just some people decide they want to make a video. So SCP-096 is, the Shy Guy is based off of, or is comparable to, say, like skinwalkers or the Rake. Slenderman is also very similar in a way. Whereas like if you look at his face,
more psychological though.
Yeah, I recently watched the Slenderman movie.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Actually, okay, so hear me out on this. If you don't know what Slenderman is, it's a pretty decent movie. Okay.
That's
now,
fair.
if you have
Unfortunately,
watched,
I do.
Yeah. If you know what Slenderman is, it's more of like not quite accurate. Still, for what it was, a decent movie. All right, like there was some shitty acting, some good acting, but it was.
Here's some
it was
fun
a little
facts for you about that movie and why it's as bad as it is. Like there is a literal better version of that movie that will never see the light of day.
Really?
And the reason is because around the time that the Slenderman movie was being made, it was around the same time
Murder.
that 2 psychotic little girls decided to try and kill their friend to sacrifice her to Slenderman.
Yeah. However, if we want to get into this ever so slightly, okay? Because I do like the idea of Slenderman. I know it's supposed to be an SCP stream, but like, come on, it's our channel. Like we talk about creepy stuff in general, and cryptids and aliens and supernatural shit. So in a lot of Asian and Native American culture is, for example, in like Japan, there's the yokai, right? Whereas the longer something has been around, or the more it's been used, spiritual energy goes into it, and then it becomes alive after 100 years. Sometimes sooner than 100 years, right? And there's often the belief of something creates it, right? And in Native American culture, if there's, say, some form of plague or like a negative energy in like the area, and positive energies as well, but generally positive energies take a lot more to build something, but negative energies and the understanding of belief creates things, right? And that's where like a lot of native spirits come from. That's why there's so many. If you look at, say, Norse mythology, and I believe even the Greek mythology, but I could be wrong on this. I know that in Egyptian mythology, pharaohs, if people don't remember you, you no longer exist, right? Your spirit dies. But in like native culture, if there's energies and enough people believe in it, there's enough negative energy going around, it creates something, right? So there's the understanding and like the myth kind of that things such as, say, the Jersey Devil, enough people believe that it's real that it manifested, right? So there's nothing saying that technically the Rake or Slenderman couldn't potentially in the future become real if enough people believe that it is real. So maybe those little girls really did sacrifice for Slenderman. Who knows, right? Like, over time, enough energy goes out towards believing it's alive that it actually begins to exist, you know? So
no, I 100%. So in, I believe it's Tibetan Buddhism, there is something called a tulpa. A tulpa, it roughly translates to thought form, and it's literally like monks will spend decades functionally thinking a spirit into existence, basically, and giving it eventually a physical form.
Yeah. So it's also how like a lot of haunted places, the more encounters that are there, the more people that go in there believing it's real. Even skeptics, if they have the slightest bit of belief that maybe this is actually here, creates more energy for that spirit to feed off of and manifest, you know? So it's very interesting. It goes a lot into the theory of manifesting destiny in a way. People used, I don't know the exact study, I cannot cite it, I'm terribly sorry, but there was a study that was done where essentially if you flipped a coin like 10,000 times, right? And I believe this is like a college study, like it was a student wanted to bring it up to a professor as an experiment they could do. And I think it was like either like theoretical physics or something along those lines. And the belief was that you can manifest things or glitch the matrix in a way where if enough people, like if you flipped a coin 10,000 times and you all believed it was going to be heads, it was more likely to become heads. And then they did the same thing with tails, right? And it turned out to be true both times. So then they started doing it with a random number generator. And they started saying, like, they had enough people believing that it was going to be somewhere around this number or somewhere around said other number, right? And more often than not, it became that way. They kind of willed it into that. Now, of course, it could just be coincidence. Like, you can't rule coincidence out on that. But it kind of gets into the same kind of idea, you know, of like, you don't realize how much power we actually have, you know? Like, you give off energies all the time, whether they're good, they're bad, whatever they might be. So the thought that you can actually think something into existence spans across multiple different cultures, right? And even in these studies that I don't have the citation for, it happened, right? And it wasn't even necessarily like spirits. It was just like changing reality at your whim. And the more people that believed it, the more it was going to happen. Or at least the more consistent that it happened. So it's very interesting to see on how shit like that actually ends up happening, you know? So it kind of makes me wonder if SCPs will actually end up being real in the future. As like, maybe not necessarily like 100% how they were, but as like urban legends that come to light, such as the Jersey Devil, right? Or like Mothman.
Yeah. I mean, at least some of the more popular ones anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would be very interesting to see if that happens. Like, it probably won't happen within our lifetime in this. Enough of us keep telling our kids, because like the boogeyman, right? That there's enough stories of a boogeyman of some kind across various different cultures, right? That kids can see, but parents can't. But the parents are the ones that tell the kids, and kids are the ones believing in it, you know? So much in the same way as how like certain demons will only show themselves if they want to be seen, you know, like certain people can see it. And it's also why like kids are more sensitive to the world around them. You know, like they can see ghosts more than we can. Animals can see ghosts more than we can because they're more in tune with the world around them, even though they don't consciously understand it, you know, because they're fresh life. They're like, take a magnet, for example. Eventually they demagnetize, right? The electrons and everything end up just like balancing out, right? It takes a long time, but if you think about it, your cells are constantly replenishing, splitting, you know, you're losing energy, right? We have to constantly replenish our energy, right? So what's to say that maybe that's what it is, you know, like children just, you've seen kids, like they have their little bundles of energy. They can constantly go for hours and hours and hours running around outside, right? So what's to say that that's not like also a spiritual energy that they have, you know? At least that's my thought on it. Yeah. But 096, is there more that we hadn't already mentioned about him? Because I know he's very popular. He's got a few games that he's kind of a center focus on. So.
I mean, another fairly popular one is, you know, 035, the the mask.
The mask. Hold on. Toddlers should be classified as supercars. I mean,
what?
They do move pretty fucking quick. You look away for a second, be like, "Well, shit, where's my kid?" You know, like.
Just don't ever take your eyes off your kids, okay?
Yeah, especially at Walmart. That's just Fight Club. All right, like they're just gonna go and get in a fight with some other fucking. Honestly, not even just the kids. Like they'll get in Fight Club. Like the kids will start the fight, but like they'll be like, "Hey, you're too chubby to be in that scooter. You should give it to an old person." And then like the chubby person will be mad at them, and then they'll like get out and they'll like sit there with like their like plastic bag tube top ready to beat up this little infant. The infant will be ready to throw hands because it's a child. It's gonna get down on its back and start doing that weird kick thing that it does, you know, where they just kick over and over and over because it works, I guess. You know, like Walmart's Fight Club. I don't care what you say, and kids are a starting point for those fights oftenly, you know, whether intentional or not.
You know, it's just how these things go. Sometimes you just gotta go into Walmart and start a fucking fist fight.
You know how fucking funny it'd be to get arrested in a Walmart for starting a fight with a toddler, though? You sit there and be like, "Do you know who I am?" "No." "Good." You know, like... That'd be the funniest shit.
Fucking spit right in their face.
Well, I meant slap, but yeah, like... But yeah, I mean, you can spit in a kid's face, too. Fuck that kid up. I don't know. "Where's your dad now?" "My dad can beat you up." "Try me." You know, like... "I'll fuck him up too. He raced a little shit." You know, like. Oh man. But yeah, you mentioned the mask one. And which one was that?
035.
Okay. I don't know much about that one. Which one is that?
Functionally, it is a mask. That has. It is a entity of some sort / has an entity's consciousness trapped within it.
Okay.
What it wants is a host to so anytime it's placed on a host, the host starts to decay rapidly. Because this thing secretes this corrosive black liquid, and it's gotten to the point now where like they have to constantly dispose of this stuff on a bi-weekly basis or some shit. Otherwise it becomes, you know, bad to the point of like it'll decay basically anything but really pure glass, and even then that works on that over time.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't even heard about this one. That's kind of neat.
It has some psychic abilities. It appears to be like getting stronger slowly over time. And if you read a number of other SCPs, it becomes apparent that what the mask actually is a higher dimensional being that was ganged up on by like 3 or 4 other higher dimensional beings and cast down to Earth, essentially, as an imprisonment. And it's pissed, and it wants to get back and fucking kick their asses.
So essentially, it's just proving that where we live is hell.
Yes.
Okay. I can get behind that. Yeah, that makes sense. Cat shredded the mouse pad. I would say go with the White Lotus one instead of butterflies. Like Galaxy Butterflies is pretty dope, but black with White Lotuses sounds even better. But yeah, that's actually kind of
Trash.
crazy.
I gotta rearrange here a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna mute for a second.
Sounds good, my dude. This is fair. Yeah, like I like Galaxy Butterflies, but like White Lotuses sounds pretty freaking dope in my opinion. I want to get like a bigger mouse pad. Mind you, if you really want a good mouse pad, just saying, I may or may not have my own merch store that has my mouse pads, but I mean, you do you. I get it. Does look rather pretty. Well, there you go. Get that then. Mine just doesn't really have like the wrist pad thing. It's just like a large one, like what I've got. Mind you, I went to the dollar store and I got myself like this thing that you can barely see unless it's in front of my face. Essentially, it's a piece of plastic that has a cushion on top, and I just put my wrist onto it, and it slides across my mouse pad and everything, and I don't have to keep my wrist in one spot. I got a larger mouse pad, so it moves around on it. So these are literally at the dollar store too. That thing is one of the best investments. I had one of those, but I didn't like it much. I don't use it for gaming. If I use it for gaming, it throws me way off. But if I'm just using it to like casually browse, so much better. Mind you, when I'm gaming, I kind of like try and keep my elbow lifted and just move like this as opposed to like this. I still play like this, but like I try and do like a mixture of both, right? Get the flicks in, you know. All right, so if he's adjusting or doing something, while he's doing that, do you guys mind if we just go on a really quick BRB so I can fill up my water bottle? Because I didn't realize that it's pretty much empty. Like, you can't even really like see it, that there's any water in it. So if you guys are alright with that, I just want to go and grab some water real quick. That way I can also make one of my drinks, because, you know, I've only had 2 energy drinks today, so I'm pretty low on energy. Sounds bad, because some people are like, man, I'm on like, I can have 1 and I'm good all day. I'll stay dehydrated. Shaking my head. All right, fine. I'll stay dehydrated. I get it. I'll suffer. I'll just sit here, haven't ate aside from like a handful of chips, and I'll just be dehydrated. Won't even get my good old electrolyte juice. Use code TRASHMOUSE at Swift Lifestyles to get whatever % off it is my discount is, and no. Go eat, you fucking monkey. I got called a monkey? I'm gonna take that as a compliment. You know what that means? That means that I number one, I got thumbs. That's a good thing. All right, I can climb stuff, but I wish I had a tail. Get at it.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back, my dude. Do you mind holding down the fort for a moment and talk about an SCP?
I'll hold it down as well as I can.
Just bring up an SCP. I just need to fill up my water bottle, rip a piss, and then make a drink. My drink I'll be able to make sure. Right here. Okay, so I will be back momentarily.
So Trash is gone. Try to keep an eye on his chat here and also look at an SCP at the same time. See if we can do this successfully. Okay. So another kind of good jumping off point. 087. This is another oldie but a goodie. It's, you know, an infinite stairwell that is haunted by some sort of entity, described best as a face that just kind of freaks the shit out of people. I don't think anyone's actually died from the entity in this thing, but you know, it lures people in by having when you open the door to the stairwell, you start hearing what sounds like a child crying for help, which is in my book sounds an awful lot like it's trying to lure you down in there. However, the actual entity itself is non-harmful. I don't know. I don't believe there's any deaths attributed to this thing, or if there is, I'm not aware of it. Even skimming the article here, I'm not seeing anything that stands out to me. This is just kind of an interesting one. There's a number of exploration logs of the place where they had D-class who went down and did various, like, oh, leave a mark at every landing at as the stairs kind of, you know, there's a landing for each fuck, I forget how many stairs there are between each landing, but you know, it's yeah, okay, so approximately 3 meters. No, I'm sorry. 13 steps before reaching a semicircular platform of approximately 3 meters in diameter.
I've returned.
Hello. Welcome back.
Why, thank you.
Thank you for that asthma.
The asthma? Oh, man.
Yes, hang on, I gotta turn up my volume. Everything's really fucking quiet. Why is everything quiet?
Good. It could just be I was on the other side of my microphone.
No, it's everything. Okay, there we go, that's better.
Fantastic. Alright, so what were you talking about while I was gone?
I was discussing 087, the, what is it called? The stairwell.
Oh, okay, that's like the one that goes down to hell pretty much, right?
No, this is just kind of an infinitely down, like, staircase that just goes down and down and down. Has the weird, like, ghost face entity in it. I don't think it's even that deadly, which is kind of what I'm saying. Is like there's no recorded deaths as far as the article states that I can see.
Huh. Sorry, I'm just making a drink. Alright. Now to shake. Oh, heck yeah. Alright. So no recorded deaths from a stairwell that's infinite? What if you fell down the stairs?
So there's landings every 13 stairs, and then it turns. So you'd have to roll somehow around a corner.
I'm just imagining the world's most rubbery person. Just falling up, bang! Bang! Like,
I mean, then you'd just be screwed.
Yeah, like, you just going and going. Like, by the end of it, you just a mangled mess.
Yeah, assuming there is even an end.
Yeah, like, it does make you wonder how far down they went. Because, like, say you were to travel down the stairs for, like, 6 hours. Would you have the energy to then climb 6 hours of stairs? Like, think about that.
That is a good question, and I think that they actually did, I'm trying to find, I'm reading through the exploration logs of this thing right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, now you're able to look up shit, and I could just sit here pretending I'm pretty and being like,
yeah,
hey, what's up? I'll ask questions. You're an encyclopedia on yourself, and you have the answers in front of you.
So I'm looking, and it looks like the most that they ever went down was 469 landings, which is 13 steps each.
Nice.
And
You about to do 469 times 13?
Stairs descend at a 38-degree angle for 13 steps before reaching a semicircular platform of approximately 3 meters in diameter. The descent direction rotates 180 degrees at each platform. The design it doesn't give me actual physical dimensions for the stairs. However, I mean, a flight of 13 stairs, that's a floor functionally. So that's 469 floors down.
That's a long way down. Like, that's, well, just imagine, right? Like, because you said how many flights going down?
469.
So that's 469 stories. Just imagine how tall a 2-story building is. Like,
generally a story
you went to the other side of the
feet.
planet, you know, like that's what it would feel like. Like, you pretty much went down to the other side of the planet almost. That's what it would almost feel like.
So that's 6,566 feet.
Well, now I'm curious what the length of the planet is. Like, the diameter.
Way more than that.
Yeah, but like, I'm just kind of wondering how far in you fucking went. Like, holy shit. Like, that would be insane.
Excuse me. That doesn't seem right.
This man out here Googling for all of us.
So
He's doing what I can.
6,566 feet. It's approximately 1.25 miles.
That's a lot of stairs to go back up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to go up like 10 flights of stairs. Let alone how many, like, over a mile of stairs. Alright. Like, fuck that. That's a lot of walking, man. And, like, my legs would be so sore by the end of that. I'd be like, I'm never doing a leg day again for the rest of my life. This just got me built. Pretty much claimed the damn mountain.
The deepest we've ever drilled into the earth, by the way, is 7.6 miles. And that was the 𝐂𝐴 super deep borehole in Russia.
Russia? Yeah.
Yes.
I was pretty sure that was in Russia. That was the endless hole also that they called it, wasn't it? Or was that a different one? Because I remember there was a hole that they found, and they just lowered down, like, they tried to measure how deep it went, and it just kept going. So eventually they lowered a microphone down it, and it was called, like, the Screams of Hell or something like that, because the audio is terrifying. I'm gonna Google that.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that's an urban legend that came out of the 𝐂𝐴 super deep borehole, basically. It is the creepy ass recording though, if anyone ever wants to listen to it.
Alright. The Well to Hell is an urban legend regarding a putative borehole in Russia, which was reportedly drilled so deep that it broke through into hell. It is first attested in English as a 1989 broadcast by a U.S. domestic religion-based TV broadcaster. Which is Trinity Broadcasting Network. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, it's a hoax. But that does sound kind of neat still. Like, huh. We've learned a thing today.
Yes.
All right. So what's well, actually, speaking of infinite, there's the infinite IKEA as well.
Yes, that is 3001.
That is a interesting concept for an SCP, because it just randomly appears and it's connecting multiple realities, of like IKEAs to other dimensions, pretty much, which kind of makes you think that there's IKEA in other dimensions, and you're like, oh, okay, but like, people like very rarely get out, right? And there's like, what are they, like the employees, but they don't have faces or something like that, and then like they try to kill you at nighttime, but you're fine during the day or something.
and it's 3008, not 3001, by the way. Sorry, that was my bad.
Oh, good.
So functionally, what it is the employees, air quotes, employees, are faceless monsters that during the day basically will just ignore you, and then at night they are gonna try and murder your ass.
Yeah, and then you have to try and like fight off them at nighttime, I guess, if
Yes.
you're in another, like, they make encampments of like people that find each other, and they just like use the furniture and stuff to wall it off. And
civilizations, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was somewhere to do that, IKEA would be the place.
Like, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, get enough like Linden Dole's fucking tables and stack them up as a wall, you know, like. Oh man, that's actually like. At least you'd have beds and mattresses, like, so you'd be able to sleep comfortably. Like, you could build whatever the fuck you needed, right? You could make functioning washrooms, and if you need it, there are stuffed animals, so you could have a nice stuffed shark and be good, you know, like, to hold at night. But like, I'm afraid, you know. Just it makes you wonder though, like, there's probably children that have been conceived there and lived their entire life there, not knowing anything else. Like,
you're not wrong.
Like, because if you can't get it,
not wrong.
And like, there's enough people that like up here and there, like it's got to happen, which kind of leads into the idea of like, are people from other realities able to breed? Like, like, in theory, if we're both human, we're just like different timelines. But what if like they're actually not quite the same type of human? You know, what if an IKEA shows up on an alien planet? You know, like.
Yeah.
Mind you, that could be where the employees came from, an alien planet. Because, like, not necessarily everything that's an SCP is a demon or a ghost or whatever. Like, obviously there are SCPs that are, like, demons and ghosts. Like, there's, like, Krampus is an SCP.
Yeah, the Yule Man.
Yep, there's, oh, I forgot the name of it. It might just be called the 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐭. It's like this fox woman that like murders and eats guys, I guess, or something.
Yep.
I think the Vulcan made a video on that one. That was actually really interesting to watch. So, actually, there was one that was really neat. The Swamp Girl was a very neat one too.
Yep. No, that's another actually pretty good one. Trying to think. There's. I mean, there's a lot of this shit is just straight up weird and anomalous because occasionally you'll just run across something and it's like, this is just a fucking fever dream. Like, there's no.
Yeah.
How did you even come up with the concept of this?
One of my favorite things is the unkillable reptile. I don't know if that's really what it's called, but like, people know what I'm talking about when I say that, right?
Yeah.
To keep it like contained, they use sulfuric acid.
It's true.
That's not a very strong acid. Like,
nope.
That's what's in batteries. Like, we have stronger acids, but like they don't say that they tried to use that to kill it, right? So it really makes you like wonder about some of the SCPs, right? You're just like, I know that they're all like made up, obviously. Like, it's an idea someone had, right? Like, there's
it's not sulfuric, it's hydrochloric acid.
Oh, sorry, yeah, hydrochloric, right? Of which hydrochloric acid is in.
Still not the strongest.
No, definitely not. Like, there's significantly stronger shit. Like, my brain apparently can't think of one.
Hydrofluoric acid for one.
Yep, that would be one. Having a bit of fluorine does tend to fuck things up a bit.
Yeah. Pro tip, kids, fluorine in general, stay the hell away from it.
I mean, definitely avoid mixing any form of hydrogen with chlorine as well, but like, fluorine generally just avoid, you know? Like, it's just not a fun time, right? Like, hydrofluoric acid is like, fuck, I forget what that's used for.
I couldn't tell you.
It's not
I
mustard
just know what
gas,
it
I know
does to
that.
the human body, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It will melt you. Like.
But no, it won't even melt you. Here's what's gonna happen. It gets into your body, and it attacks your bones specifically.
That would suck. That would really suck.
I know of a story of a guy who got some spilled on his pants in a lab and had it on him for less than 30 seconds and had to have his leg amputated because of it.
Not fun. Not something I feel like fucking with. So,
Yeah.
yeah, avoid fluorine, kids. Not a good thing to fuck around with. Fluoride isn't that bad, even though it's
No.
technically fluorine. But it's made differently. And
I mean, there are fluorine compounds that are perfectly safe. There are fluorine compounds that you stay the fuck away from if you know it's good for you.
yeah, like, well, what's really funny is, for example, table salt has a large percentage of the components you need to make a bomb.
Mhm.
And people are like, no. And you're like, look it up. Like, it's got sulfur. It's got a bit of sodium. Don't throw those together. Especially not with some vinegar. That's why if you take, for example, if you were to take like an ice cube and put salt on your skin, and then put the ice cube on top of the salt, you're melting your skin. Because you're creating a
Yes.
chemical reaction, right? Using the hydrogen that's in the ice, right? And the oxygen, well, oxidates it, right? So it creates the reaction that kind of fucks up and melts shit. Hence why we use salt on ice outside. It melts it, right? Your skin has water in it, so it acts from the other side. Not a good idea. That's why some
It
people, if they
hurts.
like work with salt all day, their hands become super fucking dried out because it's absorbing all the water out of you. And if you had just like a little bit of extra chemicals mixed in there, such as hydrogen, right? Because obviously we've got hydrogen as well, but it's like obviously we're made of water, right? But like if you got like more of the hydrogen present and able to decompose itself rather than in your skin where it tries to retain it, right? Because our body tries to absorb everything. Hence why when you go in a pool, your fingers get all pruny, because actually, no, that's actually not what that is. Why did I say that? That's not true at all. That is an adaptive thing that us as humans have, and other primates don't. It helps us swim, apparently, because we generally use our hands to cup the water. So having a coarse surface allows it to catch more water. So that's actually incorrect. People used to think that it was the water doing that, but it's actually our body adapting to have water around it. So that was incorrect. But our body does try to absorb water. Hence why you're able to dry off without being in the sun and without using a towel. Your body absorbs all the water. Like obviously some of it evaporates as well, but your body generally absorbs the majority of it. And that's also why like you use like Vaseline or like any form of like ointment, it will like absorb into your skin, right? Another reason why we don't use oil on our skin, because your skin is very porous and absorbs things. You know, it's also why you get like acne and stuff, because you have oily skin, right? Like that happens. Like your own natural oils fuck you up, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think about other fun SCPs to discuss. Actually, I do have a very interesting one that the majority of people do know about. The Plague Doctor.
Oh yeah, 049.
Yeah, 049. I honestly kind of wish that he was real in a way, and I would want to talk with him. Because obviously he wants to get rid of the pestilence, right? And I, being a person with an extreme interest in stupid shit and doesn't care too much about my life, would be like, alright, I completely get that you want to rid the pestilence. I assume that I probably have some of the pestilence. However, how can I help you get rid of it so you can remove it from me without turning me into one of your experiments or having the same results as what happens to your experiments? Even if they are successful in a way, I wish to be a perfect success. So how can I help you get to that point, right? Because everyone else is like, your thing isn't real, blah, blah. I'm like, you just don't understand it, right? Like, maybe there's something that he can see that we can't, you know? So, like, I'd be like, all right, I want to get you every form of medical book that I'm able to get my hands on. I don't mind trying to get you some cadavers, all right? I will find a way, all right? Like, I will find a way to provide those, whether I go when I find a cholo and just decide to fuck him up and be like, here's a body for you to fuck with, you know, or whatever. And for those who don't know, a cholo is a pedophile. It's just a jail term for it. And it was popping. We talked about SCPs. Right now we're talking about 049, the Plague Doctor, and how I would want to interact with him. So I think it would be fun, in a way, to help him discover this. And then after he's perfected it on somebody else that's already been dead, right, be like, all right, time for a live specimen. Try it out, homie. And then if I die, I die. But I helped him progress. All right, so like, Keter, what would be your thoughts on a situation such as that?
Given what I know about where 049 actually comes from, because it's revealed in a tale, I don't think that would be a good idea.
Okay, now I'm curious
And
about
here's
the tale,
why.
because I haven't heard it. Yeah, go. I want to hear.
So functionally, at some point, okay, so to preface this, there's an SCP, I believe it's 349, that is actually literally God. Let me
Okay.
make sure that I have that number right here. I don't. What is God's number?
I'm looking in
343. I'm sorry. So 343 is functionally God, and has proved that time and again. And they let him interact with 049 at some point. And basically, he laid it out for 049 that what he's doing is not seeking to end some pestilence, but his mind has basically warped his task over the years, because functionally he was human once. He was human once. He was struggling to save his family during the Black Plague. A plague doctor who was infected died in front of him. He stole the plague doctor's shit, put it on, and then something happened to him to make him anomalous at some point, and they never really get into that. But he slowly lost his humanity in trying to help cure others. And eventually he became the 049 that we have today, and he does not remember any of his time being human.
Huh. So he doesn't even know what he's trying to cure anymore, even though he thinks he does.
He does not. So
he can see the pestilence, but doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, he's twisted it to the point where the pestilence to him is anyone or anything that is too free thinking, should I say, is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, I don't think I'd fit too well with that then.
Yeah.
Because I sit there and be like, my brain don't even work, and sometimes it's just thinking about weird shit. So like that wouldn't work out too well. Also, for those curious, because he did say SCP-349, it's a cemetery.
Yeah.
It's surrounded by black wrought iron fence with a single Gothic style arch gate. It's probably got more to it than that, but I don't feel like looking too much into it. So.
Yeah, that's pass. I don't know. Never even.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's something for everything. All right, now there is a discussion that needs to be had, right? SCP-001. Okay. Nobody knows what SCP-001 is, right? Or am I incorrect in believing that? Because some people were saying it was like an amulet. Other people were saying it is God. Some people are saying it is the sun. I'm pretty sure that nobody knows what SCP-001 is, correct?
Yeah. So here's the thing that needs to be discussed and understood about the SCP universe as a whole.
Okay.
There is no overarching timeline that works for every SCP article, because there is shit in here that contradicts itself. There are multiple timelines, all of which contain an SCP Foundation, all of which feed the SCP Wiki, which functionally we as meta beings outside of the universe have access to functionally. 001 in particular is interesting.
Yeah, because all I'm seeing on the SCP wiki is the following files have been classified top secret by order of the administrator. Generals of 001 Alpha, in order to prevent knowledge of SCP-001 from being leaked, several /no false SCP-001 files have been created alongside the true files. All files concerning the nature of SCP-001, including the decoy/decoys, are protected by a memetic kill agent designed to immediately cause cardiac arrest in any non-authorized personnel attempting to access the file. Revealing the true nature/natures of SCP-001 to the general public is cause for execution, except as required under redacted. And then, warning, any non-authorized personnel accessing this file will be immediately terminated through Berryman Langford memetic kill agent. Scrolling down without proper memetic inclination will result in immediate cardiac arrest followed by death. You have been warned. And then you scroll down, and it is just all white. There's nothing there.
No, keep going.
At the bottom it says, memetic kill agent activated. Continued life signs confirmed. Removing safety interlocks. Welcome authorized personnel. Please select your desired file. So there actually isn't anything.
No, there are files in here.
Security system monitoring at the bottom?
It may just because...
Or is that an ad?
I'm
No,
wondering
that's
if
an
it's because you're on your phone.
Oh, it could be. Because I see codename Jonathan Ball, but it just looks like it's linking to, like, other members of the Foundation.
Nope, so each of the 001s is what's called a proposal. And there's... So, codename Jonathan Ball is the first one. And it's Jonathan Ball's proposal for SCP-001. And this one is actually... SCP-001 is a simple sheet of paper stapled together at the top left corner. The top sheet is a cover sheet reading simply confidential report on special items classified. The number of subsequent papers stapled to its covering sheet is indeterminate and have ranged from 3 to 30. The report is unsigned, and its origin is unknown. The first appearance of this report was on blank when it appeared on the desk of redacted deceased. The report at this time described the living room, SCP-002. Shortly after reading the report, with incredulity, redacted was contacted by phone regarding the said item. The next time redacted perused SCP-001, it described the living room, but not the living room, but the biological motherboard, SCP-003. Redacted immediately closed SCP-001, thinking it was a different report, and searched for the original report on SCP-002. Not finding it, he again opens SCP-001, and this time it described not SCP-003, but the 12 rusty keys in the door, aka SCP-004. Redacted closed the report. You kind of get where this is going.
It just leads on and on.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's an encyclopedia of the SCP Foundation?
Functionally, it is the SCP database, except I believe it's kind of implied later on in this that by reading the reports, it creates the object or the anomaly.
Okay.
But there's stuff in here like the Gate Guardian is another one that's pretty popular, where it's basically like, I believe it's supposed to be the Archangel Michael guarding the entrance to Eden, and it like told the original director of the SCP Foundation, or it told the person who founded the SCP Foundation to like prepare, and creating the SCP Foundation is what he did. And then there's the Scarlet King in here, which is a known actual entity that has children throughout the 096 is actually one of the Scarlet King's supposed children. But like there are continuities within these false reports that indicate that in fact multiples of these may be true depending on which timeline you're in.
So depending on what exit from the IKEA you went out of.
Yeah, but kinda, yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
You
are not wrong.
Once it gets into multiverse theory, you got my hook. I'm sitting there, I threw it out, I cast it, I sat there, I'm like, good, let's go. Let's pull this fucker in. Multiple timelines. Hell yeah, I love time travel and shit.
Let me pull up another one here that is not actually a proposal for SCP-001, but is theorized to actually be 001, but they hid it because how do you make something that you want knowledge of to be available without saying, hey, this is the thing? You bury it in a fucking database full of thousands of entries and just treat it like it's a normal entry.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Well, when I describe what this thing is, okay, it's 184 is the number. It is called the Architect. It is not to be contained in any structure. It is to be attached to a high-power electromagnet at all times. It is a small, smooth metallic object 10 centimeters, 4 inches tall, and 10 centimeters, 4 inches wide, in the shape of a dodecahedron. Each face of the figure has a circular hole in the center, and a small sphere is attached to each vertex. 184 is made up of an unknown but highly magnetic alloy, about as hard as brass. When inside of an enclosed structure, 184 expands the structure's inner dimensions without altering its outer dimensions. 184 will increase the inner dimensions of any enclosed structure by several hundred meters each day, beginning about 1 hour after entry into the structure. Initially, it will only extend the walls out, causing rooms to become bigger, while adjusting the height of the room. The expansion continues until the original dimensions of the room have been tripled. At that point, it starts creating wholly new rooms. Able to copy items,
so it's
creating furnished rooms.
Free labor to build houses?
It basically creates non-Euclidean housing. After a while, though, it starts fucking up. For example, items will be made from inappropriate materials. Glass books, wooden microwave. Rooms will be oddly shaped. Doors will be open into blank walls, and hallways will be tiny or twist back around in the long mazes. You know, that sort of shit.
So it looks like that weird stairway painting that has like a million stairways going all over the place. Eventually.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all like a
when this thing... Yeah, when this thing was retrieved, I believe almost an entire fucking task force went insane and died inside of the fucking massive structure that this thing had created by that point. But there is a tale related to this thing where the SCP Foundation has an anomalous, faster than light travel ship, and they send a mission out to the edges of past the observable universe, and they start finding flaws.
That's
like an entire Earth made out of ice cream.
I mean, that'd be pretty dope, though. I mean, I couldn't eat it all, but, So I was looking it up because I was fairly certain that I was correct. And I was. That Bigfoot is an SCP. It's SCP-1000.
Yes.
So I was quickly reading through that. And I find the first paragraph for the special containment procedures to be very interesting. So it says, all media reports related to SCP-1000 are to be examined for potential verifiability. All organizations and individuals investigating SCP-1000's existence are to be kept under surveillance by Mobile Task Force Zeta-1000 and discredited or administered amnestics. So, all physical signs of SCP-1000's existence must be retrieved and kept in Foundation custody and replaced with decoy items if necessary. Alleged sightings of SCP-1000 must always be investigated by Mobile Team Force Zeta-1000, however trivial the claim. So that, I think, is a very interesting way of saying that what people say in real life about the government is shutting down any proof of Bigfoot being real. That is very interesting. I do like that a lot. Like, that is absolutely no contact with wild or captive instances of SCP-1000 is allowed without prior approval by Director Jones. Any interaction between SCP-1000 and humans, including Foundation personnel, must be reported to Director Jones immediately. Like, that is so neat that, like, they take a, you know, like a potentially real cryptid and turn it into an SCP and make it give reasoning on why people always discredit it, you know, or like why like the Bigfoot prints are fakes, right? It's because it's been replaced, right, with a decoy. Like, that is so fucking, that is such a great way of doing that. Now, for the classification system, this one does make me a little confused because they rank Bigfoot as a Keter level.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you know a lot better than I do, but Keter means that it's like going to kill you, does it not?
No.
Or it's incredibly dangerous?
No.
Okay.
Here's how it works. There's a simple test. It's called the box test.
Okay.
If you put it in a box, you close the box, leave the box alone. If you can come back and whatever you put in that box is still in there, it is considered, air quotes, safe.
Okay.
They're easy
Also, see you
and
later, Fen.
safely contained.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with the thing itself. It has to do with its ability to escape.
Yes.
So what are the rankings? There's Euclid, Keter. Or actually, there's probably a proper order for these.
So it goes.
Safe, Euclid, Keter, and
Safe, Euclid, Keter, Thaumiel, Neutralized, Polion, and Archon. There are also some weird ones that
are very specific.
Yeah, they're called esoteric or narrative classes, where they only exist specifically for like a single SCP, or like there's some thing that the author was trying to do with it, and or like there's explained like SCPs that, you know, oh this is an anomaly, but then like science is like, no, it's not an anomaly, so it's whatever, it's out the door.
Would you be willing to explain each of the rankings? Or
Sure.
do you want to just talk about SCPs themselves?
No, I'm happy to. So, Euclid, you know, again, we'll go back to the box test. You put it in the box, you close the box, you lock the box, you walk away from the box. You don't know if it's going to be there when you come back, because either it's autonomous in some manner, it's sentient and or sapient. Just because by that very merit, it is more likely to be able to escape.
Okay, yeah, it has intelligence.
Yeah.
So is Euclid more dangerous or less dangerous than Keter?
It depends.
I guess it would be
like,
it's case by
so
case,
so
yeah.
here's the thing. You could have a safe SCP that's easily contained, but it could be the most fucking dangerous thing in the world. Like, it could literally be a button that when pressed destroys all of reality. But because it's just a fucking button, you put it in a box, lock it, hide it underground, no one will find it. Yeah. It's not sentient, it's not actively trying to be harmful. It's not, you don't have to feed it, you don't have to like deal with its biological needs or anything. So, you know, it's a little confusing at first. But
all right.
You know, you step up to Keter. You again, we'll go back to the box. You put the thing in the box, you close the box, you lock the box. The box just fucking disappeared. What the fuck?
Now, would you be able to explain why Bigfoot would be considered Keter?
Yes. If you actually read the entirety of the Bigfoot article, You will
It
learn.
was really long. I didn't want to read the whole thing.
Fair enough. I'll give you the the cliff notes is Bigfoot was actually
Give
the
me the
dominant
Spark Notes.
species before us and had hyper like intelligence to the point that they were creating like they weren't making machines, they were growing they were genetically engineering creatures to do the jobs that they wanted done for them. And their tech is so advanced that the relics that still survive are barely understood or not understood at all. Functionally, what happened was there was a war thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago where fairies, which exist in the timeline of SCP-1000, who were at war with the Bigfoot, SCP-1000, came to humanity and said, here is the tools to help you defeat them. Because what was happening was humans were, you know, barely evolved at that point, and
It's the missing link.
well, no, the humans
Okay.
were, you know, they're treated as separate homo species.
Yeah, so they're
Basically,
probably like, not Homo erectus, but a form after Homo erectus because
Yeah.
they're considered hominids.
they split off at some point, and they,
Yeah.
you know, the
Before
Bigfoot one
Neanderthals and
became,
us.
and,
Okay.
and functionally they released this. I believe it's insinuated to be some sort of anomalous biological weapon on the SCP, on the Bigfoot population, and it killed almost all of them, but then also reduced their intelligence to monkeys, basically.
So it devolved them.
Yeah.
And now they're in a process of evolving. back
Well,
to
and
where
that's
they
the thing. The problem is they have begun to regain their previous intelligence. And I believe that article ends with a message that they received and translated that reads, "We forgive you, given choice for now, not forever. Let us back in."
Huh. That's actually super neat. See, like, I really like SCPs, and, like, I'll go through, like, phases of, like, being super into stuff for a little while. And, like, right now, I'm really into learning about European and Egyptian mythologies, such as, like, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, various others. But, like, that's just what I'm currently into, right? So I've been learning a lot about, like, you know, like, the All-Father Odin and, like, his sons and the rest of the, you know, Asgardian people and whatnot. And then also learning about, like, Greek gods, you know, like Zeus and, you know, like, all the Titans, and learning about all that. And, like, the Egyptian gods is the next thing I want to start learning about, right? Because there's a lot to it. Later on, I want to start learning about, like, various Asian mythologies. So, like, right now, I'm just super into mythology. But then I always swing back and I'll, like, check out SCPs. Like, last year, actually, a few months before right now, last year, I was, like, super into watching, like, everything I could find on SCPs. I would just sit down and watch it for hours, right? It was what I was into. I wanted to learn about it. But then my brain just kind of lost a lot of it. Like, I still have a decent amount of knowledge of it. Hence, you know, I'm able to have some of these, like, discussions, right? And why I was able to, like, obviously I like cryptids, like, no matter what time of year it is, or, like, how many phases I've gone through. Like, obviously I'm always gonna like Bigfoot. I'm always gonna like shit like the Chupacabra, you know, like skinwalkers, all that stuff. So, like, cryptids are super interesting to me because cryptozoology is a real field of study. Because, like, sometimes things are proven right. Like, kangaroos used to be cryptids, you know, platypus used to be cryptids.
Gorillas used to
Gorillas
be cryptids.
until 1918, or was it?
Yeah, it was like
1820s?
not. Hang on.
Yeah, I used to know it. All you have to do is Google when was the lowland mountain gorilla discovered, and I believe it was like 1914 or 1920.
Yeah,
or
it
some
was
shit.
not as long ago as you'd think it was.
Yeah, it was like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or some shit, right? And it's like, we never found any scat. We never found any dead bodies. We never found, like, any bones regarding them. We didn't find any hair. No one believed that they were real. And now they're in every fucking zoo. You know, so like the fact that, you know, cryptids might be real. Like, I'm not saying every cryptid is real, but just for example, unicorns. Okay. You mean to tell me that people don't believe that a horse could have a horn? Deers have antlers. You know who the rhino's closest living relative is? It's not the hippopotamus. It's a horse. Rhinos are related to horses. Hippos are more related to whales than anything. So it's really not that far off to think that a rhino being related to a horse and having two horns, a horse couldn't have one as well, right? Especially considering that deers have antlers. Moose have antlers, right? What are those but just like, obviously they aren't quite as related, right? But like, what are those but essentially just like petite horses? You know, like they just bounce. Well, I wouldn't ever call a moose a petite horse. They actually are much bigger than a horse. But, or your average horse, like your Broncos and Stallions and whatnot. There's obviously horses that are fucking massive, right? And like a moose, no matter how tall you think a moose is, just think about 3 feet taller. That's roughly how big a moose is. You know, like their shoulders are above the height of trucks, and that's just their shoulders, not their head or their antlers, right? So, like, people don't believe that a unicorn could exist, but unicorns are a cryptid. I 100% believe that a unicorn could exist. It's just a horse with a horn. Technically, a horse that has a tumor on the front of its head would, in theory, be a unicorn, right? So, like, the belief that, like, you know, Bigfoot or something could be real is super interesting to me, right? So that's why I will always have an interest in cryptids, like no matter what I always will, because it's just science of animals that we don't know yet, right? And I've been looking, the other night I actually really got into it. I sat down and I started watching a study, right? Like a documentary study. And then I started looking into it more. Theoretical evolution of animals on our planet, including ourselves, right? And theoretical evolution of animals that existed in the past that are now extinct. What would happen if, you know, primates never became the dominant species? Everyone has seen like the picture of the dinosaur that looks almost like a human. And now obviously that's a very outdated way of looking at how it would work, because our thought process was, well, it needs to have a larger brain capacity, right? In order to have that, it needs to stand farther back, thus meaning that it's going to take more of a bipedal stretch and whatnot. When really that's not true. That was just how things were believed back then, right? Because I'm fairly certain that book was written in the 60s, 70s, possibly even the 80s, but I think it was before then. So it's very interesting to see on how people believed that dinosaurs would have evolved if they became intelligent, right? Even though they'd more than likely just still look like raptors, right? They'd probably be close to about 5 feet tall, maybe 6, and those would be the most intelligent, because think about it, like, what is the dinosaur's closest living relative? Birds and like other reptiles, such as like crocodiles and Komodo dragons and shit. Actually, I think Komodo dragons are very detached from dinosaurs, but not the point. Like, look at birds, right? A crow has the intelligence of a 7-year-old human, right? Pretty much from birth. So if we were to all die off, I'm fairly certain that crows would take control of the majority of, you know, the earth, right? And then dolphins and other whales and shit like that would probably continue on with their lives in the ocean and still maintain themselves as the most intelligent beings, right? Because as much as elephants are super smart and they have a really good like pack culture, they don't have the development to take over land in the ways that, say, a crow would, because there's nothing trying to hurt them, right? Sure, they'd have less crops, but then they would just fight out other animals for food, and you know, they're smarter. The only like real comparison that they would have would be probably something like toucans. Because a toucan is just...
I was gonna say there's some tropical birds that are on par with crows.
Yeah, and toucans are just woodpeckers. They're not... Everyone believes they're parrots. They're actually woodpeckers. And woodpeckers are surprisingly smart, just not the ones in North America. So...
No, the ones in North America are fucking dumb.
Yeah, the toucans are incredibly intelligent. But they would be on a completely different part of the world, right? So they would just control that area, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting to think that, like, how theoretical evolution would be. And then some of the cryptids are like insane, and then you look at SCPs and it's like, that is actually a potential thing that could have happened, especially with it having multiple like realities that people could go into. So I don't know, that's why I really like,
by the way,
stuff like this.
Gorillas 1902 is when they were discovered.
I knew there was a 2 in it. I was close.
Yeah, it was not that long ago. Like
Yeah,
they
it was
were
like 100
legend
years ago.
until 100 years ago.
Yeah, and now they're everywhere. We know how to find them in the wild. So, and oh, I forget her name. She was the lady that knew everything about like primates.
The chimpanzee lady, who I can't remember her name either.
Jane something?
Goodall?
Yes, Jane Goodall. She even believes Bigfoot potentially could be real. When it was brought up to her, she was like, well, it wouldn't surprise me that a primate would be able to live in like the forests of North America. Like, there's food. The national rainforests don't have anything to do with humans. Yeah, like in like the, South America and shit, right? Our natural like parks or national parks and whatnot in both America and Canada, there's plenty of room for something to live there.
Mm-hmm.
But, and a very interesting concept is things such as like fleshgates, skinwalkers, wendigos, goatman, all generally very similar, right? I'm not going to say they're all the same, but they can shapeshift for the most part. They can mimic human voices for the most part, and they eat people for the most part. Think about all the things that came to America, all right, all the people and whatnot, and they heard stories from Native Americans, and the Native Americans told them about it, and they reported it back to Europe about things that they'd seen. And then think about the Vikings. What did the Vikings do? They went over, they took over, they went to a place, they fucked everything up, they took it, it was theirs. They went to another place, they fucked everything up, they took it, it's theirs. They came to America, they left. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, if something's out there, and it's big enough, it's scary enough to scare off the fucking Vikings, who welcomed death, maybe there's a reason why modern technology at the time, right? Because, like, obviously they had, like, 50 gauge almost bullets, right? Like, they had, like, the little ball bearing thing packed into a rifle. That probably did a decent amount of damage through any of those things. That's probably what finally contained them. Like, humans are notorious for going, I'm gonna kill all the predators, and if I can't kill them all, I'm gonna keep them in a spot, right? I'm gonna contain this shit. Hey, how's it going, Skywalker? So when you think about something such as like cougars and wolves and bears, for the most part, they aren't in your backyard unless you're close to their habitat. But in cities, we don't see them anymore, right? So what if that's what our national forests are for? To contain things like those, right? Not necessarily the animals we do know, but the animals we don't know. Give them a safe place for them to stay so they leave us the fuck alone. And when you start looking into like missing 411 cases, someone just disappears. Usually children, but oftentimes it's also teenagers and adults, right? But usually children, and they are found miles away, sometimes tens, if not 100 miles away from where they were lost. And there's no trace of them being picked up from where they were. There's no trace of any struggle or anything, just they went missing and turned up way the fuck away. Oftentimes still in the clothes that they wore, not having the clothes ripped to pieces. Sometimes they were, but it really makes you wonder. I started watching this documentary called Missing 411. It's about this little kid that went missing in the forest, and both of his parents were accused of taking him and hiding his body or something like that. The grandfather and the grandfather's friend that came with were also accused because they left him with the grandfather and the friend was with him, and the friend was like known for some reason. I don't remember exactly what it was. I forget.
Yeah, the friend's he's kind of sketchy.
Very. And he didn't want to talk with any reporters. He didn't want to talk with any police or anything. He helped look for the first day and then nothing after that. And it's like the grandfather didn't want to help looking. So maybe the grandfather saw something, or maybe, and I'm not saying that they had any type of connection to whatever was there, but I'm fairly certain it was the grandfather's idea to go out. And both the parents were, like the mom didn't want to have kids and then ended up having, the son. And, so obviously there's probable cause, right, that you could look at and assume why the kid would go missing. But they found, like, there was another case of, like, more people, right? There was a kid that he woke up in the middle of fucking nowhere, and he was like, I don't know where I am, right? And he ends up walking until he found a road, and someone picked him up, and he found out where to go home, right? Like, there's so many missing 411 cases, and, like, the documentary is on YouTube, and I believe it's free with ads, so it's worth looking into. But, like, that type of stuff really makes you wonder what's out in the woods. And again, going back to what we talked about earlier about, like, things manifesting because enough people believe in it, you know, an example such as, say, Slender Man or the Rake, you know, just the common examples that we talked about earlier, those are kind of known for taking people. So, and the Rake is, in my opinion, right, I could be wrong, looks to be based off of skinwalkers, or let's just say flesh pedestrians, all right, because that's a word I heard recently.
Flesh pedestrians.
And it kind of encompasses all of them, you know, skinwalkers, Wendigo, Goat Man, Flesh Gates, you know, flesh pedestrian, kind of encompasses all of those, right? So it really does make you think. And then you look at more SCPs, and if enough people start to believe certain ones are real, they could also manifest. And it's like, damn, this is the type of shit that I think about all the time. So I don't know. Do you have any comments on that theory?
No, I mean, again, like you said, this is a thing that comes up in cultures all over the world, again and again and again.
That aren't connected.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to discuss, actually, is if people don't know what a biblical angel looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Go
Google
look that shit up.
Yeah, just Google images, biblical angel, as they are described in the books. Not, oh, I'm a white lady in a white dress with white wings, blonde hair, and blue eyes. And it's like, no. 12 eyes, fucking 80 wings, multiple limbs sticking out. That's a fucking alien, okay? Like, shut up, it's an alien. I don't care what you say, that's what an alien looks like. All right, like, I've watched enough movies, I've seen Futurama, that's an alien, okay? Like, oh man, like, and no one can convince me otherwise that biblical angels are not aliens. Like, it just makes sense. And there's, like, again, the zoo theory, right? That we're all on a zoo, right? So,
yeah.
And the laboratory theory as well, you know, that we were made a certain way by those aliens for them as entertainment. Because, I mean, think about it. We got TV shows, we like to watch our TV shows. We got YouTube videos, we like to watch our YouTube videos. You know, we like live streams, we watch our live streams. But have you ever just sat at Walmart, because I'm bringing it right back to Walmart, and you just people watch for a bit?
No.
That's entertaining.
Yeah.
Now imagine that on a
go to
global
Walmart.
scale.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine all the stupid shit they see. And they aren't connected to it. They can watch war crimes happening. They can watch civilizations rise and fall. They can watch advancements in technology, crashes in technology, you know, like
Sure.
the Dark Ages, you know. And if their life expands,
How many animal documentaries have you watched and been entertained by?
Exactly.
You know?
My favorite, unrelated, but one of my favorite things about, like, nature documentaries is if I say I'm watching a nature documentary about rabbits, right? And this is just an example. I don't think I've watched one about rabbits, but if I watch one about rabbits, right? Actually, no, let's not use rabbits. Let's say gazelles. All right. If I'm watching one about the gazelles and I see one get eaten by a lion, I'm like, oh, my heart, the poor baby. Oh no. And then I watch one about lions, right? And he gets a gazelle. I'm like, yeah, fucking get him. Hell yeah. Like, think about how your brain changed, even though you saw the same scene, right? Oh, Seabreeze, thank you for the host. I appreciate it. Like, just think about that, though. Like, how fucked up our minds are. Now, imagine aliens, if they, say, made us, okay, and they made us in ways where we're different from each other. Yeah, get them! You know, like, aliens might be fucked up just like us, you know? Like,
Well,
like they just see race wars, they see civilization wars. They kind of like tune our little brains and give, like, every so often
Centuries of
one guy or
entertainment.
two. Yeah, one
Go.
guy, two guys, you know, you're the Messiah, right? Create a cultural war, right? Just for their own fucking entertainment. We're a live documentary for them, right? It's a zoo. You go to the zoo, you're like, wow, bears, an apex predator you could bitch slap my head off if it wanted to. All right, like I don't care what you say. A grizzly bear could beat the shit out of a gorilla any day. They will wreck that motherfucker. All right, they have enough strength to literally just go pop and the gorilla's head is gone. All right, and a gorilla could rip me apart without even like. It could pick its ass and kill me. It'd be like, yeah, this is nothing. Just scratching his ass. Just there's an arm. There's the head. You know, like that's how strong a gorilla is. Now imagine bears, all right? And they are strong enough to literally just go pop, and there goes the gorilla's head, right? Gorilla comes at him, stomps on the arm, and just kind of like uses it like with one foot, uses the foot, and just like uses its own body weight to hold down the arm, pushes the gorilla, arm's gone. And gorillas are strong, all right? And we go to the fucking zoo, and we go, here's some little corn pops. Here's some corn pops. You know, like, what the fuck? Imagine what aliens do with us. Okay? Like, if biblical angels were aliens, they fucked with us big time, man. Like,
well, and here's another thing to point out too, is I want you to think about the technology that you have in your pocket right now.
This
I
right
want
here
you to think about
is
showing that.
millions of times stronger than what got us to the moon, and I use it to watch hot girls dance on TikTok, all right? Or a cat just sit there and be like, meow, 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 jump, poof, meow,
But
you know, like...
here's my point in all that. Imagine taking that back in time to someone in fucking ancient Greece and showing it to them.
Magic.
That's fucking magic to them.
That's
Now I want
what was
you
alchemy?
to imagine.
What was alchemy? It's chemistry.
But
It's magic is science you don't understand yet.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I want you to imagine a species that has mastered interstellar travel.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they gonna look like to a primitive ass human back in, you know, sea times before there was a fucking functional calendar?
Yeah, right?
All right.
Also, I gotta catch up with chat real quick. So I have to be up for work
it.
early, and so far the only plus is that I can catch streams now. I mean, at least you're here. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Skywalker also says, "What's your favorite SCP?" I'm gonna let Keter answer that one quick, or not quick. First, sorry.
Oh, my
Take as long as you
favorite
want.
SCP. Jesus, that's a tough one. There are a lot of good ones. I'm a fan of the ones that get real fucking weird. Like get into shit that's what they deem pataphysics, which is like I'd have to think about how to even describe what pataphysics is, but without getting into all of those, the one that just lives in my heart and always will is 610, which is the flesh that hates.
That is a good one. Do you want to get into that one so people can hear about it?
I'm happy to give a short dissertation on that if you would like.
Of course, yes.
Let me.
It's your favorite. I want to hear about it.
Pull up the article here.
All right, because I have my favorite one pulled up as well. So when you're done with yours, I had to look it up, the actual thing, so I could explain it correctly.
Fair enough.
Because I didn't remember the number, I just remembered the name of it. So
yeah, that'll usually get you to it anyways.
yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
I'm gonna skip the containment procedure. Basically, it's you keep people away from the area where this, well, it's a virus, is.
Hey, interesting. Mine's also a virus.
SCP is, or 610, I'm sorry, is a virus that within 72 hours kills the host, then reanimates them as a fleshy monstrosity. And it is slowly spreading throughout this. It's in Russia.
Yeah, it's
an isolated village in Russia. there have been, I think, 3 or 4 towns affected by this. Unfortunately, again, rural-ass towns in cold as fuck Russia, because the warmer it is, the faster this disease works. Currently, it's 72 hours at, the outdoor temperature of the location of this.
Yeah. Which is like pretty much frozen tundra, Russia. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quote unquote close to Lake Baikal in southern Siberia, so that's a very cold area.
Yeah.
The disease seems to have created basically a hive mind for itself. There are specialized infected who will like root themselves in place and start growing flesh out onto the surrounding area. There are specialized, infected that will congregate together into these like columns of flesh that actually warm the area up more to make it more hospitable for this virus. It's really screwed up, and it's slowly spreading, and they don't really know how to deal with it at this time, because there appears to be underground tunnels connecting these infected areas, and there seems to be a growing hive mind of some sort living deep under the ground that seems to kind of be pulling the strings for this whole thing.
So you know what's really interesting about the flesh that hates?
What's that?
Is it sounds incredibly similar to how the flood from Halo works.
Yeah, kind of, actually.
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, mind you, it's just how a virus would work, right? Any form of like organic growing substance would want to produce itself. It's like a mushroom, right? And a fungus, how they work. And then Skywalker says, how do people catch SCPs? So each SCP has a containment procedure at the start of most of the articles. Not necessarily all of them, but most of them have containment procedures that explains how they went about it. Every SCP is different. So Trash, you're looking good today, not gonna lie. Oh, thank you. I actually woke up and was like, oh shit, I'm hanging out with my friend Fen today. I'm gonna go take a fucking 3-minute shower, grab my shirt from yesterday, and hang out, and that's what we did. So thank you, I appreciate it. It's because I shaved all the cheek scruff and whatnot, like yesterday, the day before. So yeah, like I yeah. Now get back to what Keter was saying. Flesh That Hates is actually like very interesting though, because it bases itself off a lot of like how human biology works, or just really any oh, the word is escaping me.
Pathological?
No, it's the word for organic mass.
I don't know.
It's escaping me right now. This is gonna bother me till I remember what it's actually called. To consume organic mass. What is the word for organic mass in that sense?
Biomass?
Yeah, biomass. That's what it is. Biomass. Yep. So the way that consuming of biomass would work, right? And then to repurpose said biomass, because if that's what you consume, right? Like for example, the way that we absorb any form of, say, biomass, right? Whether that be inorganic things such as like plants, or if it's something such as like meats, like pigs, right? Well, we take it, we cook it to remove all form of contaminant, right? Or most form of contaminant that our body can't handle. We then throw it into our mouth, crush it with a bunch of tiny little pegs, push that paste down into a vat of acid. That acid then abstracts all of the nutrients, and then we remove the rest of the waste, right? And then that waste is then put in through a system, filtered, and then changed back and disposed of and brought back into the nutrient of the earth to, go into like becoming plants again, right? So that is how we would consume a biomass. we don't repurpose it aside from the nutrients that's in it. Aside from possibly like agriculture type shit. But really, like, human fecal matter isn't great for that. It works, but it's not great for it, right? Like, you'd rather want something like, say, cow manure, because they're, you know, they only eat plants, right? And that is why we eat, say, like, herbivores more than we eat carnivores, because carnivores don't taste as good, right? Omnivores taste better than carnivores, because, you know, an herbivore tastes like food, right? Like, you know, they eat and die, go back into that food, and that food becomes more food for it. Omnivores can eat that grass or whatever if they wanted, but carnivores eat meat, right? And us as an omnivore would prefer to eat other omnivores because it doesn't taste as gamey. It's also why you don't eat something like, say, like you could, but you probably wouldn't want to eat raccoon because it eats garbage, right? You don't want to eat vulture because vultures eat decayed food, right? They eat essentially death, right? They're a part of the ecosystem though because they adapted to eat that, right? So they keep viruses at bay. They keep disease at bay, you know. And you don't want to eat them because that's not something that we were adapted to eat, right? But if you take a chicken, it's also a bird, right? Or even like a goose or a duck that are also, you know, birds. They don't eat that though. They primarily eat things such as, like, you know, fish, grain, and as much as fish is not, you know, a plant, right? It's like a different type of meat, right? That we don't mind in our system, I guess. That's why some people don't like duck, right? But they'll eat chicken because chicken eats like grass, they eat grain, they eat seed, they eat corn, peas, you know, like vegetation. Whereas a duck will eat, you know, like small fish. They'll eat vegetation. They'll eat, like, occasionally frogs or toads, sometimes turtles, you know, like, it's why a lot of people don't like it because it's more gamey, right? Like, the meat tastes different because of the nutrients it's being given. So, you know, like, if you take something like the flesh that hates, it doesn't need to consume in that way. It takes that meat and adds it to its own biomass and expands outwards, right? So instead of taking nutrients from it, it takes the muscle and the ligaments, and it takes the fats, and it uses that in a different way than we would, which is a very interesting concept in my opinion. You know, like, it's a completely different form of living than what we do and most organic substances do, you know? Like, for example, you take something like a tree. They take nutrients from photosynthesis. They take nutrients from the sun. That's completely different than us. We acknowledge that trees are alive, though, because we see them grow, right? They also put their roots into the ground and absorb water. That's another form of nutrients that we also take, right? So we know it's alive, similar to us, but it's a completely different form of life, right? And there's studies showing that plants have intelligence, you know, not our type of intelligence, but if you ever, like, mowed your lawn, all right, and you smell the scent of fresh cut grass, some people really like that smell, right? That is actually a chemical that the grass is, like, releasing to let other plants in the area know that they're being attacked. And that's why if you mow your lawn and you're like, yeah, I did all the lines, came back and forth, and then you look back not even a day later and you see, like, you've missed patches. It's because some of the grass, or like the dandelions or whatever it was, leaned down while you were doing that. Because, like, look at a Venus flytrap. It's a plant that moves and eats something. Plants can move and react to things. So if a bunch of grass is dying, the other plants in the area will also lean to be closer to the ground so they don't get killed, because it's a learned form of intelligence that they are going to be chopped down. It's very neat.
Ah, the delicious smell of plants screaming.
I mean, honestly, that's what it is. Like, That's actually almost exactly what that is. People enjoy the scent of murderous intent being given and the screams of innocent grass dying. We're like, smells so pleasant, you know, like. So how do they fight back? They produce forms of pollen that can make us sneeze. They're like, Mr.
Mild
Tree,
irritants.
help me. Mr. Flower, help me. And then we're like, oh, fuck, I can't breathe. Because they literally are attacking us back.
And the worst part is, it's their jizz.
I can't even argue that because you're technically right. Like, I don't want to say that you're right, but you're like, what is pollen except for fucking plant jizz? All right, like that is plant baby matter. All right, that's just like, it's vegetative spunk. All right, that's what it is. That is all what pollen is. And animals eat it. Hell, we eat it. We're like, damn.
What do you think honey
this
is?
honey, I was literally, I was just like, we sit there, we're like, damn, this honey is delicious.
Jizz is real good
just
today.
this condensed, liquefied, viscous plant jizz is delicious, and it's good for me. You know, like,
I'm gonna put this all over my toast.
With a little bit of peanut butter. And let's not even get into what peanuts are. Like, that is a legume. That is another form of jizz. That is plant seed. More jizz, you know, like.
No. That's not even jizz. That's plant baby.
I mean, you're right. That is a plant fetus. That is a developing egg.
Y'all out here eating plant fetus like it ain't nothing. Oh God, I'm going to hell.
I mean, which one?
All of
The
them.
one with 7 rings, or the one that's cold as fuck?
Simultaneously.
Or are you just going to see the cute girl? I mean, she's half decomposed, but I mean, I'd still smash. I mean, it's hell. She's a goddess.
You're not wrong.
You're like, bro, that is Loki's daughter you talking about. I'm like, even better.
Yeah, but that puss though.
Right? Like, she can raise an undead army. I'm pretty sure she can raise this dick. Like, the fuck is wrong with us?
I have no idea. This
There's
has gone so far off the rails.
Alright, I'll talk about my favorite SCP now.
Please do.
So
Save
my
us,
favorite
sir.
SCP is called Mallow. Alright. Now that is SCP-1471. Alright. And to read off the description, SCP-1471 is a free 9.8 megabyte application for mobile devices named Mallow version 1.0.0 in online application stores. SCP-1471 has no listed developer and is somehow able to bypass the application approval process to go directly to distribution. SCP-1471 is also able to avoid removal by other program manager applications. After SCP-1471 is installed, no icons or shortcuts are created for the application. SCP-1471 will then begin to send the individual images through text messaging every 3 to 6 hours. All images will contain SCP-1471-A, either within the background or foreground. SCP-1471-A appears as a large humanoid figure with a canid-like skull and black hair. During the first 24 hours following the installation of SCP-1471, the mobile device will receive images taken at locations commonly frequented by the individual. After 48 hours, the mobile device will receive images taken at locations that were recently visited by the individual. After 72 hours, the mobile device will receive images of the individual in real time, with SCP-1471-A appearing within close proximity to the subject. Individuals with over 90 hours of exposure to these continuous images will begin to briefly visualize SCP-1471 within the peripheral vision, reflective surfaces, or a combination of the two. Continued exposure to SCP-1471 after this point will cause irreversible and sustained visualizations of SCP-1471-A. Individuals at this stage have reported periodic attempts made by SCP-1471-A to visually communicate with them, but fail to understand or comprehend these actions. Currently, the only known treatment to reverse SCP-1471's effect is to eliminate the individual's visual exposure to these images prior to 90 hours after installation. To date, no apparent hostile activity has been reported regarding SCP-1471-A. Now, there is an image that is commonly associated with it, and that is it. Really creepy, and that is exactly why I love it. And it's a Euclid class, by the way. So, I like it because, number one, it's scary as fuck. Number two, it's essentially a hallucination that goes to your cell phone, right? And I personally already hallucinate because of my schizophrenia, right? But I've talked about it in the past on how I defer what a hallucination is from an actual real thing, right? Sometimes it doesn't always work, such as, if a table is where a table would potentially be, and I go to lean on that table, and it's not there and I fall on my ass, not that I get embarrassed, but that's a mildly embarrassing situation. And then you have to explain that you're schizophrenic and see shit, all right? Now, I also hear things like, auditory hallucinations, such as like people talking, loud noises, and I'll be like, was that real? And the easiest way that I've always explained this is wearing headphones. I can hear in a video game, if I'm playing like Call of Duty or like something like that, there's a shot off to my right, off in the distance. I know that's not in real life. It sounds different. It went directly into my head, but I still know it's off to my right. But if I take out the earbud and I hear a shot off far off to my right, I can tell that there was a shot off far off to my right. But it doesn't sound the same. They sound incredibly similar, but the sound came from outside my head. And, visual things, it's more of like, are other people reacting to this? No. Okay, could this be a supernatural entity or something like that, like a demon or a ghost or whatever, right? I tend to frequently hang out with people that are sensitive to that stuff because I'm a magnet for it. They like learning about it, they like seeing it. If they aren't reacting, then it's probably not real. And then also, the same way I explain like heat and wind, right? How do you explain the difference between heat touching you and wind touching you? Like heat from like a heat lamp. How do you explain that? There's not any real way of explaining it other than I feel something touching me that isn't physically visible. Alright, but it's there. The wind touches you. You can't see the wind touching you, but you know it's there. So it's like an energy. I can feel it touching me, but I can't see it touching me, right? So if I don't feel an energy coming from that hallucination, then obviously I believe it's a hallucination, regardless of what it does, right? So having this SCP being modernized with like technology, right? It's on your phone, right? I'm like, yo, that's dope. And then eventually you start seeing it in real life, but you can interact with this one and it interacts back. It's on YouTube about the Mallow. What exactly is dark energy? Are we talking about the scientific point of dark energy, like dark matter, or are we talking about like magical property dark energy? Because dark energy is more like negative emotions and negative feelings. So stuff like malice, hatred. So that's like malice, hatred, intent to do harm. Just imagine that someone is giving you a dirty look, right? You can feel that they're giving you a dirty look, even when you look away from them, right? It's like the same kind of thing as like you can tell if someone's staring at you. It's like an extra sense. That's a form of energy being sent towards you, right? And that's just like a magical explanation. I believe it's a form of science we don't fully understand yet, much like what we discussed earlier, right? Where, alchemy is just chemistry, right? But it was considered a form of magic, So I believe that energies being emitted from people to people is a form of it's just a form of science we don't fully understand yet, because I like to mix both, scientific understanding with magical discovery, essentially. Because like there's got to be an explanation, right? There's always an explanation to things, right? We just might not know it yet. So, but yeah, that's generally how I can tell if something is real or not. And you can like feel like there's an energy touching you, just the same as how you can feel wind touch you, or heat, or like a draft, You're like, I don't really know how to explain that. I'm sure there's probably a feeling of light touching us as well. We just aren't adept enough to feel that, That's my explanation. But yeah, Mallow is my favorite because of that. Because it's like a modern take on hallucinations. And again, with like the whole manifestation, the thing that we were talking about, the Ketter's favorite, the flesh that hates, has scientific grounding that it could potentially happen. You know, like what do fungus do, right? Like the largest living organism on the planet is a fungus, right? It takes over like an entire fucking forest, right? It's an entire network that thinks, you know. It doesn't think the way that we do, but it thinks, you know, and it reacts to its environment. So if the flesh that hates is a thing like that, it's an organic substance, a form of life that isn't like us, that understands things and is trying to grow, right? Like think about like a virus in your body, right? A lot of the times the way we depict a little virus is like a little diamond looking thing with like a little stick on the bottom and then like three or four little legs, right? Because that's like its structure. And it's a debate on if those are alive or not, because they have a reason to be alive. They do things, and it's almost as if they're intelligent to know what they're doing, right? Or intelligent enough to get their job done, right? But they don't have a heartbeat because they're way too small. They don't have a brain because they're way too small. Like they're the size of a cell, right?
They're smaller than cells.
What, you know what I'm saying? Like I was, yeah. Well, yes, because they go into cells. But yes, you know what I'm saying. Like they're.
I mean, they're containers that inject RNA into a cell.
Yeah. But does that count as alive? Life? Because it clearly is doing something, and it knows replicates. What it is doing. So it's a similar concept to the idea of like, are ants animals? Well, it has limbs. It has something equivalent to a heart, I would assume. It's got blood, right? A type of goo inside of it. They have eyes, and they think like a hive mind. They explore for food. They need to eat or they die. That's alive. So why is killing an ant not as bad as killing a cow, right? Or a dog, or a monkey, right? Like they're animals. That's why my favorite animal is the waterfall centipede, because it's a living, breathing creature, right? If I put it in a vacuum chamber with no oxygen, it will die. That constitutes it being alive. If it can die, it was alive. So is a virus alive, you know? But then you get into the whole topic of like, well, does that make all your cells alive? And it's like, well, it's a different form of life than we are, but it's part of our life. So, you know, so like, what constitutes life? So that kind of gets you onto the topic of like, what could potentially be real in the future? The flesh that hates, as an example, could be alive, you know? So I like shit like that. And like, if Mallow is an SCP, of which obviously it is, and it's a hallucination that you can see, but it actually reacts to you and it can learn, right? Because one of the stories I saw, and obviously it wasn't on the wiki, so it probably is not a canonical situation. It was just someone's retelling of a story that they thought would be neat, which is pretty much all SCP is anyways. Save for Bigfoot. Bigfoot's got to be real, all right? It's got to be real. It was able to like wave at this person because they started waving at it because they got used to it being around. And it would just like wave back. So clearly it understands that's a greeting. So imagine a hallucination you can interact with. And it's real. So it's an imaginary friend that other people can see if they install it. It's so neat. That's what I like about it so much. It looks dope. The concept is interesting. And I can relate to it because it's technically a hallucination. So, and also, I don't have many friends, and it would be one more friend for me. And, no. Getter's like, bro, I have work. Let me work, alright? Like, I can't hang out with you every day.
I can only do so much, I'm sorry.
It's okay, you only break my heart.
I know, I'm a real heartbreaker, I know.
It's because you're beautiful. It's just bound to happen.
I try, man. I try.
We all do. We wake up, we go, time to put on the makeup today. And for us, that's called trimming the beard.
It's just clown makeup, you know, it's fine.
Me every fucking day of my life. a fucking clown. You know, like.
I think we've all been there at some point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my life's a fucking joke, so.
Hey, mine too.
I don't know, man. I have to sit here and beg and plead for people to give me money on the internet so I can pay my bills.
Yeah, that's...
I don't beg and plead. Shut up. That was a joke. But please, I need money.
It's true.
No.
Please give me any money you have. I really need.
Yeah, I really want to play a Hat in Time. Look down there. All right, look at that. Like. Here.
Listen, if you could just, you just gotta bump that meter up just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's only $50, all right. Like if you for $1 a day, you could support one trash mouse. All right.
One trash mouse. For
$1,
35 cents a day.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You
there's a
could
minimum of
support-
$1, I think, but for $1 a day, that's only $30 or $31 if you're lucky. $28 a month. Okay. And that is the cost of a pizza. You could support a trash mouse with $1 a day.
You have made snot come out of my nose with that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, if you can't afford $5 for
Oh my fucking god, that
for content that we made for you, we're taking time out of our day. You can't afford $5. Like that's not a lot of money. Like go to get a job. Like
yeah, if you're here and not working,
I'm not even a Twitch affiliate. I don't even have subs. Like
no, I still can't. But like,
oh yeah, I could
see
not.
Shit like that every once in a while, and I just like.
I can't fathom acting.
Bring
like
on
that.
the gamma ray burst, please disintegrate the atmospheres and irradiate the planet to the point that nothing can ever live here again because
I'm
that
waiting for the
shit's
inevitable
that
heat death. Yep. Humans were a mistake.
Humans were a mistake.
I mean,
Hayao Miyazaki. Thank you.
Hayao Miyazaki.
He didn't say that. He said anime was a mistake, to be fair.
I mean, it's just like communism. Anime is exactly like communism. It's better on paper.
So, manga then. Yeah, you're right about that one, actually. Holy shit.
Yep. Although, certain situations, My Hero Academia, you say run, makes it so much better.
Listen, man, every once in a while, just like the entire soundtrack of Attack on Titan, let's be honest here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I just noticed that your water bottle is a fucking keg.
It's a gallon. It weighs 8 pounds when it is full.
I believe it.
Yes. So it really
Beat a
sucks
man
because
to
where I
death
have to
with
fill it up, I fill it up in the wash basin that's next to like the washing machines and shit because, well, nobody really uses it for that. It's just a big sink, right? And, you know, obviously a giant fucking bottle fits in there. So I let it run for a sec, whatever. But we keep a bucket in there because my roommate washes like her like more delicate clothing like in by hand, right? So she uses the wash basin. So we leave the bucket in there because, you know, there's often water around it. So I have to like balance this thing on like 2 fingers next to this bucket so it fits in the wash basin. And 8 pounds isn't a lot of weight. But 8 pounds is a lot of weight on 2 fingers.
That starts to hurt eventually, yeah.
Because I can't put my whole hand there, or it's all stuck, like, next to the side of the wash basin. So I was like, ah, shit, you know, so. Yeah,
Gotta
I don't
drink
know.
that milk.
The milk.
Make them bones strong.
Get that boy some milk.
Also, while you were reading your favorite, I happened to notice that the next one after your favorite is the Multiverse Strip Club, and this is fucking hilarious.
Hold up. Okay, read it off. You got it. All right, hold on. Multiverse already had me, and then Strip Club. Yes.
I'm gonna skip the entire description just so I can read off to you the schedule of shows and the description of each of the shows as they happen.
Okay. All right.
From 2:10 a.m. to 2:15 a.m. is the Kunbish sisters. From 2:15 to 2:20 is Helen Keller. From 220 to 230 is the Fantastic Zippy and Trainer. From 230 to 235 is teeth and claw marks that were indecipherable. 235 to 240 is an intermission. You can go to the bar and mingle with the other patrons and whatnot. 240 to 241 is erotic_performance.exe. 241 to 245 is the Council of Libidinous Elders.
Oh God, no.
To 3:20 a.m. is serial number 223-244-09-P. And 3:20 to 3:30 a.m. is indecipherable cuneiform script. I hope you're prepared for this.
Okay.
First act, the 𝐂𝐝𝐵𝐻 sisters. The curtain opened to reveal two naked women sitting upon a wooden log. The women appear to be twins of Asian descent. Both women then perform traditional tuvan, throat singing, while massaging each other for the duration of the show. The D
Okay.
class that had been admitted deposited $10 on the stage, which prompted the women to pause and to begin a faster song. The curtain then closed at the end of the show.
Okay. Okay, I could get behind that. All right.
Next act,
Cute Asian girls singing. All right.
Helen Keller. The curtain opens to reveal a woman with the same physical appearance as Helen Keller in her mid-20s. The woman was dressed in a typical Las Vegas showgirl attire and began to perform a dance routine on stage while undressing at the same time. The D-class personnel present each deposited $10 on the stage. This prompted the woman to immediately interrupt her routine to recite poetry for a few seconds. Another $5 was deposited on stage with the same result. The curtain then closed at the end of the show.
Okay, I need you to stop for a minute.
Yep. I know who Helen Keller is.
I know. For those who don't know who Helen Keller is, she was a blind deaf mute, all right, who became a teacher, all right. But what I'm thinking of is, you know the song "Don't Trust Me"